Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The bass pulsed through the crowded living room, vibrating the floorboards and sending ripples across abandoned drinks. Colorful strobe lights danced across faces painted with glitter and excitement. In the midst of the chaos, a figure in a shimmering blue dress hesitated near the punch bowl, manicured fingers fidgeting with a strand of chestnut hair. "Hey there, gorgeous! Didn't expect to see you here." The voice cut through the noise, causing the blue-clad figure to stiffen. Slowly, carefully, they turned to face the speaker. "Oh, hi! I'm Mia. Nice to meet you." The man grinned, his salt and pepper hair catching the light as he extended his hand. "Leland, pleasure's all mine, Mia. That's some costume you've got there. What are you supposed to be?" Panic flashed in Mia's eyes, barely hidden behind long lashes. "I'm a socialite? From the Roaring Twenties?" The words came out as more of a question than a statement. Leland chuckled, his gaze sweeping appreciatively over Mia's form. "Well, you certainly look the part. Can I get you a drink?" "No," Mia blurted, then quickly softened their tone. "I mean, no thank you. I'm good for now." "Suit yourself," Leland shrugged, sipping from his own glass. "So, Mia, what do you do when you're not lighting up parties like this one?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Mia's mind raced, searching for an answer that wouldn't reveal too much. "Oh, this and that. I'm in customer relations." "Is that so?" Leland's eyebrows raised, interest piqued. "What a coincidence. I work in management for a big tech firm. We're always looking for people with good people skills." Mia's smile froze, a bead of sweat threatening to smudge their carefully applied makeup. "That's fascinating. But let's not talk about work at a party, right? Tell me, how do you know the host?" As Leland launched into a story about college connections, Mia's eyes darted around the room, seeking an escape route. But fate had other plans. "Mia, there you are!" A bubbly blonde in a flapper dress bounced over, linking her arm through Mia's. "I've been looking everywhere for you. We need your expert opinion on the dance floor." Before Mia could protest, they were being dragged away from Leland. "Sorry," Mia called over their shoulder. "It was nice meeting you." Leland raised his glass in farewell, a thoughtful expression settling on his features as he watched Mia disappear into the crowd. Once safely ensconced in a corner of the makeshift dance floor, Mia turned to their savior. "Thanks for the rescue, Jen. I owe you one." Jen giggled, her sequins catching the light. "No problem, Seth. But seriously, what were you thinking? Chatting up your boss like that? I thought the whole point of this getup was to avoid him." Seth sighed, shoulders slumping slightly under the padded bra. I know. He caught me off guard. I panicked and introduced myself as Mia. What was I supposed to do?" Maybe not engage in conversation?" Jen rolled her eyes. "Now he's going to be looking for some mystery woman named Mia who works in customer relations. Real smooth, buddy." "It'll be fine," Seth insisted, though his voice lacked conviction. "It's a big city. What are the odds he'll ever run into Mia again?" The universe, it seemed, had a twisted sense of humor. Monday morning arrived with its usual parade of commuters and coffee cups. Seth straightened his tie as he stepped into the elevator, nodding politely to his coworkers. The weekend's adventure felt like a distant dream, safely tucked away behind pressed shirts and sensible shoes. until the elevator doors opened on the executive floor and Leland stepped in.
"Morning, everyone,"
he greeted, then did a double take as his eyes landed on Seth.
"Say, don't I know you from somewhere?"
Seth's heart hammered against his ribs.
"I work in IT, sir. Maybe you've seen me around the office?"
Leland shook his head, brow furrowed.
"No, that's not it. Were you at the Johnsons' party this weekend?"
The Johnsons? Seth feigned confusion.
"I'm not sure I know them."
Leland's gaze lingered for a moment longer before he shrugged.
"Must be mistaken. Carry on."
The elevator ride felt interminable. When the doors finally opened on his floor, Seth all but bolted out, leaving behind a trail of curious glances. He collapsed into his desk chair, heart still racing. That had been too close. He needed to be more careful, to lay low for a while and let this whole Mia thing blow over. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Lunchtime found Seth in the cafeteria, methodically dissecting a wilted salad. He was so focused on separating the soggy croutons from the limp lettuce that he didn't notice the approaching figure until it was too late.
"Mind if I join you?"
Seth's head snapped up to find Leland standing there, tray in hand, and a friendly smile on his face.
"Of course not, sir,"
he managed, gesturing to the empty chair across from him. Leland settled in, arranging his utensils with meticulous care.
"You know, I've been meaning to chat with you. I ran into the most interesting woman at a party this weekend. Said she worked in customer relations, and I thought to myself, we could use someone like that around here."
Seth nearly choked on a cherry tomato.
"Oh?"
he squeaked, reaching for his water glass. Leland continued, oblivious to Seth's discomfort.
"Trouble is, I can't seem to track her down. You wouldn't happen to know anyone named Mia in customer relations, would you?"
The water went down the wrong pipe, sending Seth into a coughing fit. When he finally caught his breath, he wheezed.
"I'm not really familiar with that department, sir."
Leland's face fell slightly.
Well, worth a shot. Say, you all right there? You look a bit flushed." Fine. Seth waved him off. "Just went down the wrong way."
As Leland launched into a story about his own embarrassing choking incident at a board meeting, Seth's mind raced. This was bad. If Leland was actively looking for Mia, it was only a matter of time before he realized she didn't actually work for the company. And then the questions would start. He needed a plan, a way to keep Leland off the scent without arousing suspicion. But what? The answer came to him in a flash of inspiration, born of desperation.
"Actually, sir,"
he interrupted Leland mid-anecdote.
"Now that I think about it, I might know who you're talking about."
Leland's eyebrows shot up.
"Really? Do tell."
Seth took a deep breath, silently praying he wouldn't regret this.
"Mia, she's my sister. She was telling me about a party she went to this weekend, mentioned meeting someone in management. I didn't realize it was you." "Your sister!"
Leland exclaimed, eyes lighting up.
"Well, isn't that something? Small world, eh? Say, you wouldn't happen to have her contact information, would you? I'd love to discuss some opportunities with her."
Panic flared in Seth's chest, but he forced a smile.
"Of course, sir. I'll pass along your interest. But, Mia's pretty busy with her current job. Might be hard to pin her down."
Leland waved a hand dismissively.
No rush. Just have her give me a call when she has a moment. I think she'd be a real asset to the team."
As Leland gathered his tray and stood to leave, Seth felt the noose of his lie tightening around his neck. What had he just done? The rest of the workday passed in a blur of anxiety and half-formed plans. By the time Seth stumbled into his apartment that evening, he was a wreck of nerves and sweat-dampened dress shirts. He collapsed onto the couch, fumbling for his phone. The screen lit up with a dozen missed calls and twice as many texts, all from Jen. "Seth, call me now! Emergency!" With trembling fingers, he dialed her number. She picked up on the first ring. "What the hell did you do?" Jen's voice crackled through the speaker, a mixture of awe and horror. Seth groaned, rubbing his temples. "I'm guessing you heard about the Mia situation." "Heard about it? Seth, it's all over the office grapevine. Leland's been telling everyone about this amazing woman he met at the party, how she'd be perfect for the new customer relations position they're creating. And now word is that she's your sister?" "I panicked," Seth defended weakly. "He cornered me at lunch, started asking questions. What was I supposed to do?" Jen's sigh crackled through the line. "I don't know. Maybe not dig yourself deeper? Now you've got to produce a whole person, Seth. A sister with a job and a life and... Oh God, what if he wants to meet her?" The thought sent a fresh wave of nausea through Seth's gut. "He won't," he insisted, though his voice lacked conviction. "I'll just tell him she's not interested in the job. That'll be the end of it." "Right," Jen drawled, skepticism dripping from every syllable. "Because Leland's totally the type to take no for an answer. Face it, Seth, you're in deep now." She was right, of course. Seth knew it even as he mumbled excuses and platitudes. This wasn't going to go away on its own. He needed a plan. "Okay," he said finally, cutting off Jen's tirade about the dangers of workplace deception. "Okay, I'll figure something out. Just don't tell anyone else about this, all right? The last thing I need is the whole office in on it." Jen snorted. "Too late for that, buddy. But fine, I'll keep my mouth shut. Just be careful, okay? This could blow up in your face big time." After hanging up, Seth sat in the darkening apartment, mind whirling with possibilities and pitfalls. He could come clean, admit it was all a misunderstanding, but that would mean admitting he'd lied to his boss, potentially jeopardizing his job. He could try to find someone to play Mia, but that came with its own risks. Or, the idea sparked in the back of his mind, a dangerous, ridiculous notion that he should have dismissed outright. But the more he thought about it, the more it seemed like the only viable option. He would have to become Mia again, just long enough to turn down the job offer and put this whole mess behind him. With shaking hands, Seth reached for the closet where he'd stashed the wig and dress from the party. It was crazy. It was reckless. It was his only chance. The next morning dawned bright and clear, a mockery of the turmoil roiling in Seth's stomach. He'd spent half the night practicing his Mia voice, perfecting the walk in heels that had nearly betrayed him at the party. Now, standing before the mirror in his tiny bathroom, he barely recognized himself. The wig sat perfectly, framing a face carefully contoured to soften its angles. The dress was different, more office-appropriate than party glam, but still unmistakably feminine. He'd even managed to wrangle a pair of stockings without too many runs. "You can do this," he told his reflection, lips painted a soft pink. "Just get in, turn down the job, and get out. Easy." The reflection didn't look convinced. The lobby of TechCore Industries bustled with its usual morning crowd. Seth, No, Mia kept her head high, heels clicking confidently across the polished floor. A few curious glances followed her progress, but no one stopped her, until she reached the reception desk.
Can I help you?
The receptionist's polite smile held a hint of suspicion. Mia cleared her throat, pitching her voice higher. Yes, I'm here to see Leland Harris. I believe he's expecting me. The receptionist's perfectly plucked eyebrows rose. And you are? Mia. Seth's mind blanked. What was his last name again? Thompson. Mia Thompson. A moment of tense silence as the receptionist tapped at her computer. Then, miraculously, a nod. Ah, yes. Mr. Harris mentioned you might be stopping by. Take the elevator to the 12th floor. His assistant will direct you from there. Mia's knees nearly buckled with relief. Thank you, she managed, heading for the elevators on wobbly legs. The ride up felt interminable. Mia smoothed imaginary wrinkles from her skirt, hyper-aware of every glance from her fellow passengers. Did they know? Could they tell? But no one said a word, and when the doors opened on the 12th floor, Mia stepped out with as much poise as she could muster. Leland's assistant, a sharp-eyed woman with a severe bun, looked up as Mia approached. Ms. Thompson? Mr. Harris is expecting you. Go right in. And just like that, Mia found herself face to face with Leland Harris, the man who held both Seth's career and this ridiculous charade in his hands. Mia? Leland beamed, rising from behind his expansive desk. So good to see you again. I was thrilled when your brother said you might stop by. Mia forced a smile, perching on the edge of the offered chair. Yes, well, I thought it best to address this in person. You see, Mr. Harris?
Please, call me Leland,
he interrupted, leaning forward eagerly. Leland, Mia corrected, fighting to keep her voice steady. I'm flattered by your interest, truly, but I'm afraid I must decline any job offer. My current position is quite fulfilling. Leland's face fell for a moment, but he rallied quickly. I understand, of course, but surely you'd at least consider hearing what we have to offer. TechCore is at the forefront of innovation, and with your people skills, I'm certain you'd go far here. Mia opened her mouth to refuse again, but something in Leland's earnest expression gave her pause. This was her chance to end this once and for all, to extricate herself from this web of lies. And yet, perhaps, she heard herself say, I could listen to your proposal, just to be thorough, you understand. Leland's grin could have lit up the entire office. Excellent. I knew you were a smart woman, Mia. Now, let me tell you about our vision for the future of customer relations. As Leland launched into his pitch, complete with holographic projections and animated graphs, Mia felt a surreal sense of disconnect. How had she gotten here? More importantly, how was she going to get out? The meeting stretched on, 1 hour bleeding into 2. Leland's enthusiasm was infectious, and despite herself, Mia found herself asking questions, offering insights. It was fun, in a twisted sort of way, to be taken seriously, to have her opinions valued without the baggage of office politics and preconceptions. When Leland's assistant finally poked her head in to remind him of his next appointment, Mia was almost disappointed. Well, Leland said, rising to shake her hand.
I hope I've given you something to think about. Take some time. Discuss it with your brother. We'd love to have you on board, Mia.
Mia nodded,
mind whirling. "Thank you for your time, Leland. I'll be in touch." She managed to make it to the elevator before the reality of what she'd done came crashing down. This was supposed to be a quick in and out, a firm rejection to end the charade. Instead, she'd all but encouraged Leland's interest. As the elevator descended, Mia leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. What was she going to do now? The ding of the elevator reaching the lobby startled her back to awareness. She straightened, smoothing her skirt and plastering on a confident smile. Just a few more steps and she'd be out of here, free to figure out her next move. But as she strode across the lobby, a familiar voice called out, "Mia? Is that you?" She froze, heart leaping into her throat. Slowly, she turned to see Seth's coworker, Dave, from accounting, hurrying towards her. "I thought that was you!" Dave grinned, oblivious to Mia's panic. "Seth said you might be stopping by today. How'd the meeting with the big boss go?" Mia's mind raced. How much did Dave know? How much had Seth told people about his supposed sister? "It went well," she managed, voice higher than she'd intended. "Very informative." Dave nodded sagely. "Leland can be pretty persuasive when he wants to be. Listen, a bunch of us are grabbing lunch if you want to join. I'm sure Seth would love to have his sister meet the team." The room seemed to tilt dangerously. Lunch? With Seth's coworkers? As Mia? It was too much, too risky. "That's very kind," she stammered. "But I really must be going. Another appointment. You know how it is." Dave looked disappointed, but nodded. Of course. Well, maybe next time. It was great to finally meet you, Mia. Seth talks about you all the time." With a final wave, Mia all but ran for the exit, Dave's words echoing in her ears. "Seth talks about you all the time." What had he been saying? How deep did this lie go? The cool air outside did little to calm her racing thoughts. Mia ducked into the first alley she could find, leaning against the brick wall as she tried to catch her breath. This was spiraling out of control. What had started as a simple misunderstanding at a party had somehow morphed into... what? A job offer? A whole fictional life? She needed to talk to Seth, to figure out how to extricate themselves from this mess before it got any worse. But first, she needed to get out of these clothes and back to being Seth. Being Mia, even for a few hours, had been more exhausting than she'd anticipated. With a deep breath, Seth, pushed off from the wall and headed for home. He had a lot of explaining to do, both to himself and to the growing cast of characters in this farce. As he walked, mind churning with possibilities and pitfalls, Seth couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this was far from over. Somehow, some way, Mia would be back, and next time the stakes would be even higher. The key scraped in the lock, a harsh sound in the empty hallway. Seth stumbled into his apartment, kicking off the pinching heels with a groan of relief. He made it 3 steps before collapsing onto the couch, wig askew and makeup smudged. "What am I doing?" he mumbled into a throw pillow, voice muffled and decidedly un-Mia-like. The apartment offered no answers, just the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant honk of traffic. Seth lay there for a long moment, mind replaying the events of the morning in excruciating detail. The meeting with Leland, Dave's invitation, the web of lies growing more tangled by the minute. Finally, with a Herculean effort, he pushed himself upright. First things first,
He needed to get out of this getup and back to being Seth. Maybe then he could think clearly, figure out a way to fix this mess. The transformation back to his usual self was less magical than he'd hoped. Makeup remover stung his eyes, leaving them red and puffy. The wig came off easily enough, but his own hair was a disaster of sweat and hairspray. By the time he'd changed into jeans and a t-shirt, he felt marginally more like himself, but no closer to a solution. His phone buzzed insistently, a flood of messages from Jen and other coworkers. Apparently, news of Mia's visit had spread like wildfire through the office grapevine. Seth ignored them all, thumb hovering over Jen's contact info. If anyone could help him navigate this disaster, it was her. But admitting the depths of his deception, even to his closest friend, felt impossible. What would she think of him? What would anyone think if they knew the truth? A knock at the door startled him out of his spiral of self-recrimination. Seth froze, eyes darting to the pile of feminine clothing hastily shoved under the coffee table. Who could it be? "Seth? You in there, buddy? It's Dave!" Oh no. No. This was not happening. "Come on, man, I know you're home! Your sister said you had the afternoon off! Open up!" Seth's heart hammered against his ribs. Dave. Here. Now. When the evidence of his deception was scattered all over the apartment. With shaking hands, he shoved the wig and makeup bag behind a couch cushion. "Just a second," he called, voice cracking. "I was, napping." He gave the room one last frantic scan before opening the door, plastering on what he hoped was a casual smile. "Hey, Dave. What's up?" Dave grinned, oblivious to Seth's panic. "There you are. Didn't see you at lunch. Thought I'd check in. You missed quite the excitement, my friend." Seth stepped aside, letting Dave enter while trying to subtly kick the discarded heels under the couch. "Oh yeah? What happened?" "Your sister, man. She came by the office, had a meeting with Leland himself. Everyone's buzzing about it. How come you never mentioned she was looking for a job here?" Seth's mouth went dry. It was kind of last minute. Didn't want to jinx it, you know." Dave nodded sagely, settling onto the couch. Seth winced as he sat right on top of the hidden wig.
Smart. Well, from what I hear, Leland was seriously impressed. Wouldn't be surprised if she gets an offer soon. You two could be co-workers. The idea sent a fresh wave of panic through Seth's system. "That's great," he managed weakly. "But, you know, Mia's pretty happy with her current job. I doubt she'd actually take it." "Are you kidding?" Dave's eyebrows shot up. "A chance to work at TechCore? With her big brother? Who wouldn't jump at that?" As Dave launched into a detailed recounting of the office gossip surrounding Mia's visit, Seth's mind raced. This was worse than he'd thought. It wasn't just Leland he had to worry about now. The entire company seemed invested in Mia's potential employment. "And then I ran into her in the lobby," Dave was saying. "Invited her to lunch, but she had to run. Shame, really. Everyone's dying to meet her." Seth nodded mechanically, barely registering the words. How had this spiraled so far out of control? And more importantly, how was he going to fix it?
"Hey, you okay, man?"
Dave's voice cut through his panic.
"You look a little pale. Not coming down with something, are you?"
"What? No, I'm fine," Seth assured him hastily. "Just surprised by all this, I guess. Mia and I don't usually mix our work lives." Dave grinned, clapping him on the shoulder.
"Well, get used to it, buddy.
If she takes this job, you'll be seeing a lot more of her around the office. Speaking of which, think you could put in a good word? Maybe convince her to take the plunge? Seth's laugh came out more like a strangled cough.
Sure, Dave. I'll talk to her about it.
Thanks for watching, my girlies. Be sure to check out Patreon for more.